Who are you? Identify yourself now, the pilot ordered. A shaky voice replied, Marcus, it's me. His heart stopped. That voice, his sister's voice. But she died 8 years ago. They lied to you, Marcus. I'm alive. Please help me. Military jets hunting her. Minutes to decide. Believe or ignore. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. Captain Marcus Webb checked his watch as the Boeing 757 climbed through 28,000 feet. 2:47 p.m. Right on schedule. Atlanta to Denver, his 248th time flying this exact route, and everything was proceeding with the mechanical precision he'd cultivated over 8 years of commercial aviation. Delta 2916, climb and maintain flight level 380, Denver Center's voice crackled through his headset. Climbing to flight level 380, Delta 2916, Marcus responded, his voice carrying that particular tone of professional calm that came from 12,000 hours in the air and a determination never to let emotion touch the controls. Beside him, First Officer Amy Chen adjusted the autopilot with economical movements. At 29, she was young enough to still find wonder in flight, but experienced enough not to let it distract her. Marcus had been flying with her for 6 months, and he'd come to appreciate her conscientiousness. She checked everything twice but never second-guessed herself, a rare quality in young pilots. Looking good, Captain, Amy said, scanning the engine instruments with practiced eyes. Fuel consumption right on profile. Weather ahead is clear. Passenger load is light today, only 147 souls plus crew. 189 total, Marcus corrected automatically. It was a habit from his Air Force days, one he'd never broken. You always counted everyone. Every single person mattered, from the captain to the last passenger in row 32. Amy nodded, making a mental note. She was still learning his particular rhythms, the way he thought about flying, the standards he held himself to. Outside the cockpit windows, America spread beneath them like a living map. The patchwork farmland of Kansas was giving way to the first wrinkled rises of the Colorado Plains. In another 90 minutes, they'd see the Rockies proper, that dramatic wall of ancient stone and eternal snow that never failed to make something in Marcus's chest tighten. Not from fear. He'd flown through worse in his military days. It was memory that grabbed him by the throat every time he saw those peaks. His sister had loved the mountains. Marcus pushed the thought away with the practiced efficiency of 8 years of discipline. Don't think about Kira. Don't remember her laugh that could fill a room, or her recklessness that could empty one. Don't remember the way she'd call him ice, because nothing ever rattled him, not even when she was buzzing their hometown in a borrowed Cessna at illegal altitude. Don't remember the funeral with the empty coffin, the 21-gun salute for remains that were never found, never recovered, never coming home. Don't remember his mother's face when they handed her the folded flag, how she'd aged a decade in that single moment. Don't remember any of it. His sister was dead. The United States Air Force had told him so in official language on official letterhead with official condolences. Lieutenant Kira Redline Webb, killed in action during a classified humanitarian mission in a region they couldn't name during an operation they couldn't describe. Helicopter went down in hostile territory. No survivors. Recovery operations impossible due to security situation. Case closed. Move on. Process your grief. Here's a flag. Marcus had left the Air Force 6 months after she disappeared. Honorable discharge, exemplary service record, commendations for valor that he'd thrown in a drawer and never looked at again. He couldn't stomach military flying anymore. Every mission was a ghost of the one that took Kira, every helicopter a reminder of the Black Hawk that had carried her away from him forever. Commercial aviation had been his salvation and his prison. Civilian flying was safe, predictable, boring in the best possible way. You filed a flight plan, you followed the route, you landed where you were supposed to land, you went home to an empty apartment. Nobody shot at you. Nobody disappeared. Nobody died unless it was medical, and even then you had protocols, procedures, emergency medical kits, and the slim chance that CPR might actually work. It was exactly what he'd needed to survive. A life carefully constructed from routine and emotional distance, where the hardest decision was whether to have the chicken or the pasta from catering. Speaking of which, Amy said, holding up 2 meal containers from the galley service, "You want the chicken or the pasta?" Marcus blinked, pulled back from the dangerous territory of memory. "Chicken. Thanks. Good choice. I had the pasta last week." It was. She paused diplomatically, optimistic. Despite himself, Marcus smiled. Amy had a dry sense of humor that occasionally punctured the cockpit's professional atmosphere. Optimistic? It aspired to be Italian. It had dreams. Unfortunately, it tasted like someone described Italian food to a robot who'd never eaten before. Marcus actually laughed, a rusty sound he didn't produce often enough. "That bad?" "The marinara sauce was beige, Captain." Beige. They ate in companionable silence, the Boeing 757 humming steadily beneath them at 450 knots, burning fuel with computer-optimized efficiency, following the magenta line on their navigation display with electronic precision. The cockpit was its own small world of switches and screens and the eternal horizon, insulated from the 147 passengers behind them who were watching movies, reading books, sleeping, arguing, falling in love, breaking up, or simply existing 38,000 feet above the earth in a metal tube moving at speeds their ancestors would have called divine. This was Marcus's life now. Routine. Professional. Emotionally distant. Safe. He'd flown this route 247 times before without incident. Today was going to be different. At 3:34 p.m. Mountain Time, 92 minutes into the flight, Marcus's carefully constructed world began to crumble. The emergency frequency erupted to life with a crackle of static. Every aircraft monitored 121.5 MHz, the International Aviation Distress Frequency, a channel reserved for disasters and emergencies, usually silent except for the occasional false alarm from a pilot who'd accidentally bumped their emergency locator transmitter. But when a real distress call came through, every pilot within range responded with the same primal alertness, the same adrenaline spike that said someone needs help. "Mayday, mayday, mayday." Marcus's hand froze halfway to his coffee cup. That voice, female, strained but controlled, professional even through obvious crisis, sent electricity down his spine. "This is November 7 3 Tango Kilo. Aircraft is critically damaged. Engine failure, hydraulics compromised. Unable to maintain altitude. Requesting immediate assistance." Marcus and Amy exchanged glances. Amy was already adjusting her headset, her fingers flying across the traffic display to scan for nearby aircraft. Marcus could see her training kicking in, assess, prioritize, respond. He keyed his mic instantly, "Aircraft calling Mayday, this is Delta 2916, Boeing 757, flight level 380. We copy your transmission. What is your position and souls on board?" Static hissed for 3 long seconds. In the cockpit, time stretched. "Delta 2916, I'm approximately 30 miles west of your position, descending through flight level 280. Single occupant." A pause, then, in a different tone, harder, more urgent, "I have critical cargo. Cannot allow it to fall into wrong hands." Amy's eyebrows rose. She mouthed silently, "Critical cargo?" Marcus agreed. Something felt wrong. Pilots in genuine emergency situations used specific, trained language. They stated facts: fuel remaining, injuries, aircraft damage, souls on board. They didn't talk about cargo falling into wrong hands. That phrasing was more military than civilian, more covert operations than general aviation. Marcus keyed the mic again, keeping his voice calm. "Aircraft November 7 3 Tango Kilo, what is the nature of your emergency? Are you civilian or military?" The pause that followed was too long. Way too long. Marcus could almost feel the calculation happening on the other end of that transmission, someone weighing options, making decisions. When the voice came back, it had changed, no longer the controlled professionalism of a pilot reporting an emergency, but something sharper, more desperate. Delta 2916, I need direct communication with your pilot in command. Not ATC. Not company dispatch. You, personally. Are you the PIC? Marcus's instincts prickled like static electricity before a storm. This was irregular. Highly irregular. Distress calls went through established channels, you declared emergency, you talked to ATC, you followed procedures. You didn't request specific personal communication with random passing aircraft. Amy was frowning, her hand hovering over the radio panel. Captain, should we loop in Denver Center? This sounds. Hold on. Marcus keyed his mic. Affirmative, I'm Captain Marcus Webb, pilot in command of Delta 2916. Now identify yourself and state your emergency. The silence that followed made his skin crawl. He could hear his own heartbeat in his ears, feel the slight vibration of the airframe, smell the recycled cockpit air. Everything was normal. Everything was wrong. Then the voice spoke 3 words that stopped his heart. Marcus. It's me. The world tilted. The cockpit seemed to spin even though the aircraft was perfectly level at 38,000 feet, autopilot engaged, every instrument showing normal. But Marcus felt like he'd just been punched in the chest, like all the air had been sucked out of the pressurized cabin. Say again. His voice cracked despite his best effort at control. Marcus, it's Kira. No. Impossible. Kira was dead. Kira had been dead for 8 years, 2 months, and 14 days. He'd counted. He'd mourned. He'd buried that grief so deep that nothing short of excavation could reach it. But that voice. I know you think I'm dead, the voice continued rapidly, words tumbling over each other. I know it's been 8 years. But I need you to listen very carefully because I'm flying a stolen aircraft with a bullet hole in my fuel tank and evidence that powerful people will kill to keep buried, and Marcus, you're the only person in the world I can trust right now. Amy was staring at him like he'd transformed into someone she didn't recognize. Captain, do you know this pilot? Marcus couldn't speak. His mind was spinning, rejecting what he was hearing even as some deep, primal part of him, the part that remembered childhood and shared secrets and a lifetime of siblinghood, recognized the voice. The cadence. The particular way she said his name, with that slight emphasis on the first syllable. No. This was a trick. A hoax. Someone who'd researched his background, maybe someone who'd served with Kira, exploiting his dead sister's memory for what? What possible reason would someone have to? Captain Webb? Amy's voice carried real concern now. Should I call this in? Marcus forced himself to breathe. To think. To be the pilot, not the brother. Not yet. He keyed his mic with a shaking hand, identify yourself properly. Call sign. Now. Professional. Verifiable. Something only the real Kira would know. Another pause. Then, quietly, almost tenderly, redline. My call sign was redline. Marcus's breath stopped. Every military pilot had a call sign. You didn't choose it, your squadron gave it to you, usually based on something embarrassing or defining from your first weeks of training. Kira had earned redline because she pushed every limit like her life depended on exceeding it. Aircraft performance envelopes, mission parameters, her own physical endurance. She flew medevac helicopters into situations where everyone else said no, where the risk assessment came back impossible, where protocol said abort. And she went anyway. She always came back. Until the day she didn't. Anyone could know that, Marcus said, his voice hoarse. It was in the memorial service program. It's probably in military records somewhere. Your call sign was Iceman, the voice continued. Not because you were cold. Because you never panicked, not even when things went sideways. The squadron gave it to you after that training exercise where your wingman clipped your tail and you still landed the damaged aircraft without breaking a sweat. That was true. That was in records too. But that's not why I called you Ice, the voice continued, softer now. I called you Ice because of what happened when we were kids. When I was 15 and you were home on leave from pilot training. You took me up in Dad's Cessna 172, the one he'd been restoring for 5 years. I was showing off, trying to prove I was as good as you, and I came in too fast on the landing. Didn't watch my wingtip clearance. Clipped the garage door and tore it clean off the hinges. The plane was fine, but Dad's garage looked like a bomb went off. Marcus felt his vision blur. You climbed out of that plane, the voice continued, checked if I was okay, then calmly walked over to Dad who was standing there white as a ghost. And you told him the door was rotten anyway and had been a safety hazard for years, that this was probably for the best. You took the blame. You paid for the repairs out of your saved military pay. And you told me later that panicking helps no one, that staying ice-cold calm was the only way to solve problems. Marcus's hands were shaking. That story, that exact sequence of events, had never been written down anywhere. They'd never told anyone the full truth because their father had been so terrified he couldn't even yell, just stood there trembling at how close he'd come to losing his daughter. It was a secret. A private moment between two siblings who loved each other enough to keep each other's secrets. Oh my God, Marcus whispered. Kira. I'm alive, Marcus. Her voice broke. I've been alive this whole time. And I need your help right now, in the next 10 minutes, or I'm going to die for real. Or worse. I'm going to get disappeared again, and everything I've sacrificed for the past 8 years will be for nothing. What are you talking about? Marcus's voice came from somewhere outside himself. Where have you been? What happened? They told us you were killed. Not on open frequency. Kira snapped, and there it was, that edge of command, the lieutenant who'd led rescue missions into hell and brought everyone home. Marcus, switched to frequency 134.75. Right now. Please. Amy was watching Marcus with growing alarm. Captain, what's happening? Marcus looked at her, and he knew she could see it in his face, shock, disbelief, hope, terror, everything he'd spent 8 years suppressing suddenly flooding through the dam. That's my sister, he said quietly. My sister who's been dead for 8 years. Amy's eyes went wide. Captain, if this is some kind of... I know. His hand moved to the radio panel. I know how insane this sounds. He switched to 134.75, a discrete frequency, not monitored by ATC, not recorded by the FAA. I'm here, he said. Talk to me. And Kira, if this isn't you, if someone is playing games with my dead sister's memory, I swear to God. It's me, Marcus. I can prove it. But first you need to hear this because we're running out of time. Marcus's world narrowed to that voice, to words that were about to change everything. 8 years ago, my helicopter didn't crash, Kira said, speaking rapidly. We were shot down. By American aircraft. Friendly fire that wasn't friendly, it was intentional, Marcus. They tried to kill our entire crew because we saw something we weren't supposed to see. Something they couldn't let get out. That's insane. We were flying a standard medevac mission, Kira continued, her words tumbling over his objection. Supposed to evacuate wounded contractors from a village in the Helmand province. I can say it now because classification doesn't matter when you're already dead. But when we landed, Marcus, we saw them. American military contractors. Executing civilians. Women, children, elderly villagers. Line them up and shoot them. Her voice cracked. They'd been hired to protect that village. Instead they were liquidating witnesses. See, there was a weapons deal, American military hardware being sold to insurgents by these contractors, making millions. The village had seen too much. So they decided to erase the problem. Jesus, Marcus breathed. We had helmet cam footage. We had testimony. Our crew chief was recording everything because he thought we'd need documentation for the debrief. We called it in on secure military channels. And Marcus, they shot us down 3 minutes later. Made it look like enemy fire from the ground. But I saw the missile launch. I saw the American aircraft. How did you survive? Luck. Randomness. God, I don't know. The helicopter broke apart on impact. My crew, her voice broke, Marcus, my entire crew died in that crash. 6 people. 6 Americans, killed by their own side. I survived because I was thrown clear, ended up in a ravine. When the contractors came to confirm kills, I hid in the wreckage until nightfall. Then I ran. Marcus felt like he was hearing a ghost story. Why didn't you come home? Why didn't you tell someone? I tried. I made it to a UN outpost 3 days later. Half dead from dehydration, broken ribs, infected wounds. I gave them everything, the helmet cam footage from our crew chief that I'd recovered from the wreck, my testimony, the coordinates of that village. I begged them to protect me, to investigate, to expose what happened. And 2 days later, the outpost was raided. 23 people killed, including everyone I'd talked to. The evidence was gone. And I realized, she took a shaking breath, I realized they had people everywhere. Military, intelligence, contractors, UN. The conspiracy went so deep that there was no one I could trust. If I came home, if I revealed I was alive, they'd kill Mom and Dad to get to me. They'd kill you. They'd make our entire family disappear. So you stayed dead, Marcus whispered. I stayed alive. Barely. I've been moving every few months for 8 years. New identity, new country, always looking over my shoulder. But Marcus, I wasn't just hiding. I was building a case. Finding other witnesses, contractors who'd been paid off and felt guilty, officials who'd been threatened into silence, soldiers who'd seen things that didn't add up. I've been collecting evidence for 8 years. Video, documents, testimony. Enough to expose the whole conspiracy. Then why now? Why risk contact after all this time? Because they found me. Her voice hardened. I was in Montana, working as a flight instructor under a fake name. I thought I was careful. But someone recognized me, another pilot who'd known me in the Air Force. He reported it. They came last night. Did they? I got out. Barely. But I'd prepared for this moment, Marcus. I knew eventually they'd find me. So I had an escape plan. I stole a plane from a contractor airfield, this piece of junk I'm flying now, a Piper Cherokee that wasn't even properly maintained. I loaded it with all my evidence, copies of everything, multiple redundancies. And I ran. Ran where? Toward you. I've been monitoring your flight schedule, Marcus. I knew you'd be on this route today. I needed someone I could trust. Someone with witnesses who couldn't be silenced. You've got 147 passengers and crew on that 757. That's 147 people who can testify that this happened. They can't disappear 147 civilians without raising questions. Amy was frantically taking notes, trying to piece together what she was hearing. Marcus held up a hand, wait. Kira, even if everything you're saying is true, I'm flying a commercial aircraft. I have passengers. I can't just. I'm not asking you to land, Kira interrupted. I'm not asking you to divert. I'm asking you to be a witness. Marcus, I won't make any airport. I've got a bullet hole in my fuel tank, I was taking ground fire when I stole the plane. I'm losing fuel every minute. My engine is running rough. I've got maybe 15 minutes before I'm gliding, and maybe 10 after that before I'm out of options. Then declare emergency with ATC. Get vectors to the nearest airport. And get intercepted by military aircraft before I can land. Marcus, they're already scrambling assets. I've been monitoring military frequencies. They have F-16s in the air hunting for me. Then what's your plan? Lake Granby. It's a large reservoir about 16 miles north of your current position. I can ditch there. I've got a waterproof container with all the evidence, video files, encrypted drives, physical documents. I'll release it with a beacon before I ditch. You fly over, mark the exact coordinates, broadcast them on open ATC frequency. Make it public record. With 147 passengers witnessing it, with ATC recordings, with that beacon transmitting, they can't make me disappear. Civilian rescue will get there. The evidence will be recovered. The truth will come out. Marcus's pilot brain was already calculating. Lake Granby, he knew it, a large reservoir created by damming the Colorado River. Deep, cold, but survivable if the ditching went right. But water landings were incredibly dangerous. Aircraft weren't designed for it. Survival rates were. I know the risks, Kira said, reading his thoughts. I've trained for water survival. I've got a life raft, personal locator beacon, the works. Marcus, this is my only play. I've been dead for 8 years. I'm about to be dead for real unless you help me. Please. In the background of her transmission, Marcus heard something that made his blood freeze, a high-pitched electronic tone. A radar warning receiver. They're pinging me, Kira said flatly. They've got aircraft up, probably F-16s doing a search pattern. Marcus, I'm out of time. I need your answer. Will you help me? Amy spoke carefully, like she was addressing someone who might be having a breakdown. Captain Webb, I don't know what's happening here, but we need to inform ATC about this situation. If there's a military operation in progress, if this is somehow connected to national security. No, Marcus said sharply. Then, softer, Amy, I need you to trust me right now. Captain, you're asking me to trust that a dead pilot is on the radio claiming she's your sister, claiming there's some massive government conspiracy, asking us to divert from our flight plan to witness, what, exactly? Everything she just said. Amy stared at him. Do you hear yourself? This sounds like. I know how it sounds, Marcus interrupted. Conspiracy theory. Paranoid delusion. Maybe I'm having a breakdown. Maybe someone is playing an elaborate hoax. But Amy, I know her voice. I know her call sign. I know a story about a garage door that no one else in the world knows, that was never written down, never shared outside my family. And she wouldn't contact me, wouldn't risk exposure after 8 years of hiding, unless it was absolutely real and she was out of options. He turned to face his first officer directly. I'm going to help her. That's not a question. The question is whether you're willing to be part of this, knowing it's going to cost me my career and possibly yours. Amy's jaw worked silently for a moment. Captain, if you divert this flight without authorization, I'll be fired. I know. And you have complete deniability. I'll testify that I gave you a direct order, that you objected strenuously, that I overrode your concerns. Your career will be protected. That's not what Amy stopped, took a breath. Captain, what are you asking me to do? Be a witness. Help me do this right. And then testify to what you saw. Amy looked at the instruments, at the 147 passengers behind them, at Marcus's face. Whatever she saw there made her decision. Tell me the plan, she said quietly. Marcus felt something unlock in his chest. He keyed back to Kira's frequency, redline, I'm going to help you. Give me your exact position and heading. Thank you. He could hear tears in her voice. Thank you, Marcus. I'm currently at 12,000 feet, approximately 32 miles west-southwest of your position, heading 035. I'm losing about 200 feet per minute, and my fuel situation is critical. Maybe 10 minutes until I'm empty. Copy that. I'm going to request a slight course deviation from ATC. I'll claim weather. That'll put us over Lake Granby in about 12 minutes. You aim for the northwest section of the lake, it's widest there, gives you the most room for error. Roger. And Kira, Marcus's voice caught. When you flare for touchdown, you need to stall it right at the surface. Full back pressure, let the tail hit first. It'll be violent but it'll dissipate energy better than hitting nose first. I know how to ditch ice. But there was affection in her voice, that old sibling dynamic. You taught me, remember? Then prove you remember. And Kira, get out fast. That plane will sink quickly. I will. Marcus, if I don't make it. You'll make it. Your red line. You always make it. Not always. Not for 8 years. Then it's time to come home. Marcus switched to Denver Center's frequency, his voice professionally calm despite the adrenaline flooding his system. Denver Center, Delta 2916. Request deviation 20 miles north of course for weather. Delta 2916, I show clear skies on your current route and ahead. What weather are you observing? Visual observation of developing cells, possible turbulence. Request deviation to maintain flight level 380, heading 340, for approximately 40 nautical miles. There was a pause. Controllers didn't like unexplained deviations, especially when their radar showed clear skies. But pilots had discretion for weather avoidance, and Marcus was banking on that. Delta 2916, approved as requested. Advise when able to return to course. Wilco, Denver Center. Marcus adjusted their heading, Amy following his commands without hesitation. The Boeing 757 banked gently, nosing toward the Rockies, toward a lake Marcus had flown over hundreds of times without a second thought. Captain, Amy said quietly, there are going to be questions. From passengers, from the company, from the FAA. I know. They're going to ask why you deviated. And I'll tell them the truth. He grabbed the cabin intercom handset, his voice projecting the same calm authority he'd used thousands of times. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Webb. We're making a minor course adjustment to avoid some developing weather. You may notice us turning slightly to the north. This is completely routine and will not affect our arrival time in Denver. Thank you for your patience. Professional. Normal. Giving no indication that he was about to throw away his career. Marcus switched back to Kira's frequency, redline, I'm inbound to Lake Granby. What's your status? I'm at 10,000 feet, 8 miles southwest of the lake. Engine is running extremely rough. I think I'm down to fumes, Marcus. This is going to be close. You can make it. Shallow descent angle, preserve your energy. When you commit to the landing, don't second guess it. Roger that. A pause. Marcus, I need you to know, whatever happens in the next few minutes, thank you. For believing me. For helping me. For being you. Just concentrate on flying, Kira. One more thing. In the waterproof container with the evidence, there's a letter. For Mom and Dad. In case I don't. You're going to deliver it yourself, Marcus interrupted firmly. After you testify and blow this whole conspiracy wide open and they make a movie about your badass survival story. Kira laughed, a sound Marcus hadn't heard in 8 years and had thought he'd never hear again. Always the optimist, Ice. Always the realist, Red. Now fly your aircraft. Amy pointed through the windscreen. Captain, Lake Granby ahead. About 30 miles. Marcus could see it, a long, irregular reservoir nestled in the mountains, the water reflecting the afternoon sun like hammered silver. Somewhere out there, his sister was descending in a dying aircraft, carrying evidence that could topple governments. "I've got the lake visual," Marcus transmitted. "Kira, where are you?" "Coming up on it now. I'm at 7,000 feet. Engine just quit. I'm gliding." Marcus scanned the sky. There, a small aircraft, maybe 5 miles out, trailing a thin line of dark smoke, descending in a controlled glide toward the water. "I see you," Marcus said. "You're lined up good. Northwest section, remember?" "I remember." Her breathing was audible now, quick and shallow. "This is it, Marcus. I'm committing." Amy was leaning forward, watching. So were passengers on the right side of the aircraft. Marcus could see faces pressed to windows, phones coming out, people pointing. The Cherokee dropped toward the lake, nose high, airspeed bleeding off. Kira was doing it perfectly, using gravity and aerodynamics to stretch every foot of glide, aiming for the widest part of the reservoir. Looking good," Marcus transmitted, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. "You've got this, Kira." The aircraft leveled out about 50 feet above the water surface. Marcus held his breath. "Here we go," Kira said. The Cherokee touched the water tail first, exactly as Marcus had instructed. The tail section crumpled, absorbing energy. The nose bounced once, twice, then plowed into the water with a massive spray of white foam. For a terrible moment, the plane seemed to hang there, half submerged, and Marcus felt time stop. "Get out," he whispered. "Come on, Kira, get out." Then a figure emerged from the sinking cockpit, small, fast, pulling something bright orange. A life raft. And something else, a large yellow container, waterproof. "She's out." Amy shouted. "Captain, she made it out." Marcus keyed his radio, "Kira. Kira, respond." Static. His heart stopped. Then, breathless and triumphant, "I'm out. I'm in the raft. I've got the evidence." "Marcus, you need to mark these coordinates in." Another voice cut in. Male. Cold. Military precise. Delta 2916, this is checkmate lead. We have the situation under control. Divert immediately and do not report what you witnessed. This is a classified military operation. Marcus's blood turned to ice water. Checkmate lead, Marcus said carefully, keeping his voice professional, there's a civilian in distress on Lake Granby. I'm obligated by aviation law to report. That is not a civilian, the voice interrupted. That is a fugitive in possession of classified material. You are ordered to divert immediately and maintain radio silence about this incident. This is a direct order under National Security Authority, Captain Webb. They knew his name. Of course they did. They'd been hunting Kira for 8 years. They knew everything. Amy was pale, her hand gripping the edge of her seat. "Captain, if this is a legitimate military operation with national security implications." "It's not," Marcus said flatly. "It's a cover-up." He looked at his first officer, at this young pilot who'd signed up for a routine career flying commercial routes, who'd never expected to be thrown into the middle of a conspiracy. "Amy, I need you to make a choice right now. What I'm about to do will end my career. It will definitely get me fired, possibly get me arrested, maybe worse. I'll testify that I gave you a direct order, that you objected, that you are not responsible for my actions. You'll be protected. But I need to know, will you back me up as a witness to what happens next?" Amy Chen looked at him for a long moment. Her training said follow procedure, trust authority, don't question orders from military aircraft. But her instincts, honed by months of flying with Marcus, watching him make the right call every single time, said something different. "What are you going to do?" she asked quietly. "Tell the truth. Publicly. So loud they can't silence it." Amy took a deep breath. "Then yes. I'll back you up. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. Thank you. He grabbed the cabin intercom handset, his voice carrying through the entire aircraft. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Webb. I need you to listen carefully. What you just witnessed was an aircraft emergency landing on Lake Granby, Colorado. There is a survivor in the water. I am now marking these exact coordinates and reporting them to civilian rescue authorities. Passengers stirred, murmurs spreading through the cabin. Please note the time, 3:47 p.m. Mountain Time. If you took photos or videos of this incident, please keep them secure. You may be asked to serve as witnesses that this event occurred. Your testimony could save someone's life. Then Marcus switched to the open ATC frequency, the one monitored by every aircraft within 100 miles, recorded by FAA facilities, part of the permanent public record. Denver Center, Delta 2916. I am reporting an emergency aircraft ditching at coordinates 40 degrees, 12 minutes north, 105 degrees, 52 minutes west, that's Lake Granby, Colorado. Single survivor visible in life raft with orange container. Request immediate civilian rescue response, Coast Guard, Colorado Parks, local law enforcement, medical evacuation. Time of ditching, 15:47 Mountain Time. Be advised, I have 147 passengers who witnessed this event. Delta 2916, we copy your transmission, Denver Center responded. Initiating rescue coordination. Are you able to maintain visual contact with the survivor? Affirmative, we are directly overhead at flight level 380, we can maintain visual. Negative. Checkmate lead's voice cut through like a blade. Denver Center, disregard that transmission. This is a classified military operation under National Security Authority. Civilian rescue is not required and not authorized. Delta 2916, you are interfering with a federal operation. Checkmate lead, this is Denver Center. I need proper authorization codes before I can. Authorization follows. Stand by. Marcus keyed his mic again, speaking clearly for the recording. Denver Center, be advised there are military aircraft attempting to suppress civilian rescue operations. I have 147 passengers and crew who are witnesses to this emergency. I am formally requesting that civilian law enforcement be present during any rescue operations to ensure the survivors' safety. I am also requesting that this entire radio conversation be preserved as part of the official record under FAA regulations. The frequency exploded. Checkmate lead, Delta 2916, you are violating national security protocols. Denver Center, all aircraft stand by. Checkmate lead, I need proper identification and authorization. Another voice, different accent, Denver Center, this is Shamrock 42, Colorado Air National Guard. We're monitoring this situation. Requesting clarification on authorities and jurisdiction. A female voice, this is News Chopper 7 responding to reports of aircraft down. Request clearance to Lake Granby. More voices piling in. Local police aviation. Park service. Private pilots who'd heard the distress call. The frequency became chaos, but Marcus could hear through it all the sound of witnesses assembling, of people who couldn't be silenced or threatened or made to disappear. In the middle of it, Kira's voice came through on their discrete frequency, Marcus, they're coming. I see 2 military helicopters inbound from the south, fast and low. They're, oh God, Marcus, they're going to. Stay in the raft. Marcus transmitted. Stay visible. Keep that container visible. There are witnesses now, Kira. They can't touch you with this many people watching. Amy grabbed his arm, pointing. Captain, look. Through the windscreen, descending rapidly toward the lake, 2 military helicopters, black, unmarked, the kind you saw in classified operations and plausible deniability scenarios. And something else, 3 news helicopters, bright with station livery, cameras mounted on their sides. And more aircraft converging, a Colorado Parks helicopter, a private helicopter with medical markings, even what looked like someone's personal aircraft that had decided to investigate the commotion. Marcus watched it unfold like a chess match played at 200 miles per hour. The military helicopters reached Kira first. They were closer, faster, had probably been tracking her for hours. But by the time they arrived, 5 other aircraft were already circling, cameras rolling, witnesses assembling. When figures in dark tactical gear fast roped down to Kira's life raft, they did it under the eyes of multiple cameras, recorded from multiple angles, watched by a commercial airliner with 147 passengers pressing faces to windows. "They can't kill her now," Amy whispered. "Too many witnesses. Too many cameras. It's too public." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face. 8 years. 8 years of grief and guilt and emptiness. And now. "She's alive," he said. "She's actually alive." On the discrete frequency, Kira's voice came through one more time. "Marcus, they've got me. But I'm okay. I'm holding the evidence container. I'm telling them I won't give it up unless civilian authorities are present. They're backing off. Marcus, it's working. Your witnesses are working. We're not leaving," Marcus transmitted. "We're staying overhead until civilian rescue arrives. You're going to lose your job. I'm going to get my sister back." When Delta 2916 landed in Denver International Airport 47 minutes later, Marcus taxied to the gate knowing his life was about to change in ways he couldn't predict or control. The FBI was waiting at the gate. So were military police in dress uniforms. So were 3 news crews who'd somehow gotten past airport security, their cameras tracking Marcus as he deplaned. As passengers filed out, many stopped. An elderly man shook Marcus's hand firmly. "You did the right thing, son. Don't let anyone tell you different." A woman in a business suit pressed something into his palm, a business card. "I'm an attorney. If you need legal representation, call me. Pro bono." A young father holding a toddler. "My dad was in the military. Whatever your sister saw, whatever she knows, thank you for protecting her." 147 passengers. 147 witnesses who couldn't be threatened or silenced without creating a bigger scandal than the one they were trying to hide. Marcus was escorted to a secure room in the airport where men in dark suits and military uniforms waited. For 8 hours, they questioned him. What had Kira said? What evidence did she claim to have? Did he understand he'd potentially compromised national security? Did he realize the gravity of his actions? "I saved my sister's life," Marcus said, over and over, his voice steady. "My sister who you told me was dead 8 years ago. My sister who witnessed war crimes and was hunted by her own government for 8 years because she refused to stay silent. I did the right thing." "You violated procedure," a general said coldly. "You endangered passengers. You ignored direct orders from military aircraft." "I answered a distress call," Marcus replied. "That's what pilots do. We help people who need help." At midnight, they finally let him go. No charges. Yet. But that could change. The airline fired him 72 hours later. The letter was professionally worded, legally careful, violation of company procedures, unauthorized deviation from flight plan, creating a public relations incident, conduct unbecoming. They thanked him for his service. They wished him well. They made it clear he would never fly for them again. Marcus read the letter in his empty apartment and felt nothing but relief. He'd made his choice. He'd live with the consequences. 3 weeks after Lake Granby, Kira testified before a closed session of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Marcus wasn't allowed in the room. Security clearance, they said. Ongoing investigation. Need to know. All the phrases governments used when truth became inconvenient. But Kira told him everything afterward, sitting in their mother's kitchen in Ohio, drinking coffee like they'd done 1,000 times in another lifetime. The evidence she'd carried in that waterproof container, Helmet cam footage from her crew chief showing American military contractors executing 37 civilians in a village they were supposed to protect. Women lined up and shot. Children. Elderly villagers who'd seen too much. All killed to hide an illegal weapons deal worth $40 million. Documents proving those contractors were paid to eliminate witnesses. Financial records showing money flowing from defense contractors to Pentagon officials to congressional staffers, a web of corruption so vast it made Watergate look quaint. Testimony from survivors who'd been threatened into silence for 8 years. From contractors who'd been paid off and felt guilty. From intelligence officials who'd known something was wrong but feared for their careers, their families, their lives. And the smoking gun, communication logs showing that the order to shoot down Kira's helicopter came from a Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense who was receiving monthly payments from the contractors, channeled through shell companies and offshore accounts. They killed my entire crew to hide this, Kira said, her voice hollow. 6 Americans. 6 people who trusted their government, who served their country, murdered by their own side. For money. Their mother sat between them, one hand on each of their arms, crying silently. She'd buried her daughter once. Getting her back was a miracle that still felt impossible. The story broke on every major news network simultaneously. Apparently the Senate committee had decided that some truths were too important to keep classified. The Lake Granby conspiracy. Dead pilot's secret evidence. 8 years of government cover-up exposed. Within a week, indictments were handed down. The Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, arrested while trying to board a flight to a non-extradition country. 3 senior executives from the defense contractor. 2 CIA operatives who'd helped hunt Kira. A constellation of smaller players who'd facilitated, enabled, and profited from war crimes. The trials would take years. But the truth was finally public, preserved by 147 passenger witnesses and a commercial pilot who'd chosen his sister over his career. Marcus spent his first month unemployed helping Kira through the media circus and the nightmares. 8 years of hiding had left scars that wouldn't heal quickly. She woke up screaming. She checked exits compulsively. She flinched at loud noises. But slowly, day by day, she started to seem like herself again. Started to smile without looking over her shoulder first. They were sitting on their mother's porch one evening, watching the Ohio sunset, when Kira said quietly, "I'm sorry. You lost everything for me." Marcus shook his head. "I lost a job. I got my sister back. You loved that job. I loved you more." He smiled. "Besides, turns out Delta wasn't my calling anyway. What will you do now?" Marcus pulled an envelope from his jacket. "Actually, I got something interesting yesterday." Kira read it, her eyebrows rising. Phoenix Relief Operations. Private aviation company. They run humanitarian missions, disaster relief, medical evacuations in conflict zones. Apparently they heard about what happened and decided they need pilots who don't look away when someone needs help. "Marcus, that's incredible. It gets better." He looked at her. "They have an opening for a co-pilot. Someone with military helicopter experience, combat medevac training, and a proven track record of surviving impossible situations." The job posting was very specific. Almost like they had someone particular in mind. Kira stared at him. "You're offering me a job. I'm offering us a job. Together. Flying missions that matter. Helping people who need it. No conspiracies, no cover-ups, just good people doing good work in bad places. Like old times. Better than old times. Because this time, we both come home." Kira's eyes filled with tears. Redline and Iceman. Redline and Iceman. The refugee camp sprawled across the desert like an open wound, thousands of tents, makeshift shelters, humanity surviving in conditions that tested the limits of endurance. But humanity was surviving, because people like Marcus and Kira kept showing up. Marcus brought the twin-engine cargo plane in low over the camp, lining up with the dirt airstrip that was more suggestion than infrastructure. Beside him, Kira called out checklist items with the precision of someone who'd logged hundreds of hours in far worse conditions. Airspeed 110. Check. Gear down, 3 green. Check. Flaps 30. Flaps 30, set. They touched down smoothly, reverse thrust kicking up clouds of dust that painted the aircraft brown. Marcus guided them to a stop near a medical tent flying the Phoenix relief flag. Nice landing, Ice, Kira said. Nice approach, Red. They'd evacuated 34 patients today, civilians injured in the latest conflict, people who needed surgery they couldn't get here, children with treatable conditions that would kill them without intervention. Phoenix relief operations would fly them to a hospital in Jordan, no questions asked, no one turned away, no politics interfering with basic human decency. As they loaded patients onto stretchers, carefully, gently, knowing each person was someone's child, parent, sibling, friend, a local doctor approached Marcus. She was young, exhausted, her medical scrub stained with a week's worth of triage. "You are the pilot everyone talks about," she said. "The one who saved his sister." "I'm just a pilot," Marcus said, uncomfortable with the attention. "No." The doctor shook her head firmly. "You are the pilot who chose love over rules. Who chose truth over comfort. In this place, where we see so much darkness, we need to remember that people like you exist. That some people still do the right thing even when it costs them everything." Marcus didn't know what to say to that. Kira saved him by stepping forward with her warm smile, the one that could disarm tension in any language. "We're just doing our job," she said. "Same as you." "Then the world needs more people doing this job," the doctor replied. That evening, as they flew back to their base in Jordan, the cargo hold empty except for medical waste and the lingering smell of antiseptic, Kira said quietly, "Do you ever regret it? Giving up your commercial career for this?" Marcus looked out at the sunset painting the clouds in shades of gold and crimson and deep purple. He thought about Delta Flight 2916, about 147 passengers on a routine Thursday afternoon, about the impossible moment when a voice from his past shattered his carefully constructed present. "You know what I regret," he said. "I regret the 8 years between losing you and finding you again. I regret every safe, comfortable, emotionally distant flight I flew while you were out there alone, hunted, unable to come home. I regret not looking harder for you, not questioning the official story, not trusting my gut that something was wrong. Marcus, you couldn't have known. But I could have tried harder. I could have been less willing to accept the comfortable lie." He turned to her. "That day over Lake Granby was the first time in 8 years that I actually saved someone. Really saved them, not just flew a safe route and landed on time. It was the first time I felt like myself again. Like the pilot I was supposed to be. The kind who doesn't look away. The kind who answers when it matters. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." The radio crackled, "Phoenix 7, this is base operations. We have another mission request. Medical evacuation, Darfur region, high-risk area, multiple casualties. Are you available?" Marcus and Kira exchanged glances. They were exhausted. They'd been flying for 12 hours. They should probably say no, get some rest, let another crew handle it. But there were people who needed help. That was the only math that mattered. "Phoenix 7 copies," Marcus transmitted. "We're available. Send coordinates and situation report." As Kira pulled up the charts and began calculating fuel requirements, she said softly, "Thank you." "For what?" "For believing me. For helping me. For giving up everything to bring me home. Kira, you're my sister. There was never a choice." "Yes, there was. You could have chosen safety. You could have chosen your career. You could have decided I was dead and stayed comfortable in that truth." Marcus reached over and squeezed her hand. Then it's a good thing I'm not that smart. Because a world where I chose comfort over you is not a world I want to live in. They flew into the night, toward another crisis, another mission, another chance to do something that mattered. Below them, the earth turned in ancient rhythms, indifferent to human drama. But up here, at altitude, two siblings who'd found each other again were proving that some bonds were stronger than fear, than death, than 8 years of impossible separation. Behind them, the sun set on another day. Ahead, somewhere in the darkness, people were waiting for help that might not come. Unless someone answered the call. The investigative journalist's book became a bestseller, Redline, How a Dead Pilot Exposed the Lake Granby Conspiracy. It detailed everything, the helicopter shoot-down, the 8-year manhunt, the commercial pilot who'd risked everything to save his sister, the 147 passengers who'd become unwitting witnesses to truth. Marcus attended the book launch because Kira asked him to, but he spent most of the evening uncomfortable with the attention, deflecting praise, insisting he'd just done what anyone would do. Except most people wouldn't, the journalist told him. Most people follow orders. Most people trust authority. Most people choose comfort over courage. You chose differently. I chose my sister, Marcus said simply. And that choice cascaded. Because you helped Kira, war criminals went to prison. Because 147 passengers witnessed the truth, a conspiracy was exposed. Because you refused to look away, other people started asking questions about other cover-ups. You changed things, Captain Webb. Marcus didn't know if he believed that. But he knew that every time he and Kira flew a mission for Phoenix Relief, every time they evacuated someone who would have died otherwise, they were answering a call that mattered. At the party, a young pilot approached him nervously. Captain Webb. I'm starting at Phoenix Relief next month. They said I should talk to you about what the job is really like. Marcus smiled. It's hard. The flying is challenging, the conditions are dangerous, the pay is mediocre, and you'll see things that will haunt you. The young pilot's face fell. But, Marcus continued, you'll also do the most important work of your life. You'll help people who have no one else. You'll make choices that matter. And at the end of every day, you'll know you did something real. Is it worth it? Marcus thought about Delta 2916, about a voice on an emergency frequency saying Marcus, it's me, about the moment when the world tilted and everything changed. Every distress call I answer now, he said, I think about the one that brought my sister back. And I remember that the most important emergency you'll ever respond to might be the one everyone else tells you to ignore. He looked across the room to where Kira was talking animatedly with their mother, alive and vibrant and home. Yeah, Marcus said quietly. It's worth it. Later that night, as Marcus drove home through the city, his phone rang. The Phoenix Relief Emergency Line. Captain Webb, we have a situation. Earthquake in Turkey, infrastructure collapsed, medical teams trapped. They're requesting emergency evacuation. It's high risk, aftershocks, unstable buildings, limited landing zones. No one else will take the flight. Marcus pulled over, thinking about risk and reward, about comfort and courage, about all the time someone needed help and the help never came. I'll take it, he said. When do we leave? 30 minutes. I'll be there in 20. And get Kira on the line, I'll need a co-pilot who's good in tight situations. Because some calls you answer not because protocol demands it, but because someone needs help and you have the ability to provide it. And because Marcus Webb had learned, at 38,000 feet over the Colorado Rockies, that the most important thing you can do with your life is show up when it matters. Even when it costs you everything. Especially then. Identify yourself, the pilot ordered. Redline, she answered. And in that moment, Marcus Webb learned that some people don't stay dead, some conspiracies can't stay buried, and some choices, the hardest ones, the ones that cost you everything you thought you wanted, are the only choices worth making. Because in the end, we're not defined by the comfortable flights, the safe routes, the professional distance we maintain from other people's emergencies. We're defined by the moment we hear someone calling for help and decide to answer. No matter what it costs.